Hello, everybody. Welcome to TUC 2025. Normal double act. Me and Tony Kearns, our Senior Deputy General Secretary, doing a roundup every single day. Today is Sunday, the first day of Congress. Tony, how's it gone?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've said this before in previous years. What you get, an insight into, I feel like, what goes on in other unions and the workers they represent. So each union gets its opportunity to put motions in about the subjects that matter to their members, frontline workers on a day-to-day basis. And so this afternoon, because Congress doesn't start on the Sunday till 3 hours, 4 till 7. There's a lot of business we go through. But this afternoon we've seen motions from the education unions, motions from those who work in outsourced services in hospitals. We've seen speakers from the civil servants. We've seen speakers from podiatry. We've seen dietetic associations. But it struck me that one theme that runs through all of it is like a chronic underfunding of those public services from central government. And one or two people referenced the Labour Party's had a year in office, and whilst they're not expecting everything to be fixed or changed in one go, there seems to be very little progress in funding those areas that are crucial both to people's well-being and people's lives, people's ability to, if you like, earn decent pay, but also to the infrastructure of to the country. We heard about teaching assistants, we heard about cleaners in hospitals, and now these are people who are essential to the fabric of society, and it's always interesting to understand, if you like, that some of the, if you like, fights, for want of a better phrase, that we see inside our own union are replicated across other workers and other unions and other economies.
So I want to speak about our delegation, obviously, as well as the wider stuff you said there. So first of all, we had a delegation meeting before we kicked off the conference. I think Dave and yourself commented on how diverse our delegation was and how well representative most of the union was. And we got loads of people who have indicated that they want to get in and they want to speak on motions. So you excited to hear from them as the week goes on?
Absolutely. Depending on the time slots allowed, there's fixed time slots. We've informed the TUC that we want to speak on a wide range of motions. And as we go through the week, I'll be able to update on that. And one of the speakers we had up today is Michelle Bailey, who's on our TNFS executive, BAME woman. So, you make the point about how diverse our delegation is. We've got postal workers, we've got telecommunications workers, we've got workers from our tech sector branch. And it was interesting because the motion that Michelle spoke on was about social media and its effect on knife crime. And one of the things she was pointing out is the campaign we've been running for recognition in TikTok. And TikTok has suddenly decided to sack 500 moderators, if you like. And the point she was making is, most of our members will be aware of knife crime. Undoubtedly, some of our members will be touched directly by that, unfortunately. And it's a real worry for kids growing up and for parents. But one of the purpose of the motion was to say the social media needs to do more to take down violent videos, to take down the type of flashpoints that we see on social media that leads to people wanting to have knife fights. And what Michelle was pointing out was that AI, which is what TikTok wants to do to replace the moderators that they've sacked this week, and more on that later because we've got our own motion on that point, is less likely to pick up those issues and less likely to deal with them on social media than real people are.
So I want to pick up you seamlessly, if I can, your point about our motions then. So we've got two motions which we can submit, and we've got an emergency one, and I want to talk about those three if I can. So first up, I think it's you'll give me the date. I think it's Tuesday. Maybe you'll correct me on sectoral collective bargaining. Our Deputy General Secretary, Telecoms and Financial Services, Karen Rose, a little bit about that motion and I guess why it's important we've brought it to Congress.
Yeah, because so you're right. It is due to be Tuesday, providing that we follow the timetable. We already overran today, so some motions have already been put back. But the intention is, and that motion will be dealt with on Tuesday. A lot of background noise clapping there. Applauding that motion on sectoral bargain. So, the thinking behind that for us is that for too long, individual groups of workers in, if you like, various sectors have been picked off or pitted to fight against each other in what appears to us to be no more than a race to the bottom. on terms and conditions. And we think one of the things that would strengthen workers, strengthen collective bargaining, would be if within particular sectors, unions were able to come together, have a common and bargain agenda against a group of employers. And that's sort of like the premise of the motion that we've got forward. It's been composited with other motions of a similar nature, similar outlook. And Karen was speaking on that, as you say, hopefully on Tuesday.
So I wanted to move on to our other motion, reform of the TUC, and ask you to talk through what the component parts of that is. I guess also maybe invite you to comment on the fact that that's the final motion of Congress, and maybe yours, Dave's, I guess, displeasure at that being in what you might term the graveyard shift, but a little bit about why that's important as well, that motion.
I mean, a bit like the sectoral bargain. I mean, the world of work, you've heard the General Secretary say this, we've all said this as a union over many years now. The world of work is changing, the economy's changed. It's not changing for the better, and it's certainly not changing to the betterment of workers in this country. And the umbrella organisation, the TUC, still has the same structures as it's had for decades. And we just think it's time that the TUC was restructured to face the challenges that we're talking about. So one of the things is, like, the TUC has a number of subcommittees under the main General Council, which we have 3 people sit on that General Council. And what we're trying to do, a number of things, but one of them is that will dovetail in with our sectoral bargaining agenda, is to say that those subcommittees should come together with people within certain sectors of the economy to set out what the TU's position should be on this, and not, if you like, that just be left to one individual if it's bigger or stronger than another one, which ultimately, as far as we can see, going back to the other debate, drives down that race to the bottom. There's also things like, every General Secretary sitting in our hall is elected by law for fixed periods of office, as is 5 years. We have a TUC General Secretary, which is the umbrella organisation of all the trade unions. Actually, when that General Secretary is elected for life, and we just don't think that is correct. The deputy is appointed, we don't think that's correct. So we're talking about a root and branch reorganisation of the whole of the TUC, its structures, its election processes, its subcommittees, to bring it, if you like, into the 21st century, and to deal with, if you like, the changes in the economy that are happening and the changes in the economy that we know are coming down the line.
Thanks, Tony. I don't. If you wind back 5-6 years ago, I don't think you and I would have thought we'd be talking about a CW motion about TikTok. Yep. But here we are in a big area of success, our Utah National Tech Branch, and they're fighting on all fronts. We're really well on recruitment and organising, but also now fighting against redundancies and fighting for recognition in TikTok. And we're sort of bringing that to the movement this week, aren't we?
Yeah, we've. So it was only on, I think I'm correct in saying it was only on Monday or earlier this week that TikTok announced the, I feel like, 500 redundancies. Right, and it's done. Our view is it's been done deliberately because we were very confident that we would have, if you like, a ballot of the workers within TikTok for a recognition agreement with that company, with the CWU, through our Utah, our tech workers branch, and we were confident that. And what TikTok has done to undermine that, in our view, again, is to to get rid of about half the workforce. So they've done it deliberately, if you like, as far as we can see, to clamp down on trade union activity, to clamp down on the essence of what we stand for, which is to represent workers in the workplace. And for want of a better phrase, it's not something we're going to stand for. We'll be taking legal advice. We'll be talking to the Utah branch, which incidentally now, on recent numbers, is I think I'm safe in saying, is now the largest branch in the CWU. And one of the things we're doing is, because this action took place after the deadline for submitting motions to the TUC, we've put in an emergency motion, which was agreed by the Delegation this morning. It was written by our tech workers branch, so it's come from the heart, if you like. It's come from the people, if you like, at the cold face, for want of a better phrase. And so hopefully we've submitted that to the TUC now. Hopefully that'll be on the agenda at some point this week. And that's if you like, taking that fight, which you think is a just fight, if you like, anywhere we can. And I know Dave is keen to talk to government ministers, employment ministers, whoever that might be today, because that seems to be changing by the minute still, to make these points. So we're going to take that fight everywhere we can, including here this week.
So thanks, Tilly. One of the things that we've often talked about is at TUC Congress is there's a lot of agreement. So there's lots of motions where people, because they offer solidarity or because they just agree with the stance the union's taken, that they get sort of passed with not a lot of debate or they get passed unanimously. We've talked about our motion on reform of the TUC, which is going to be contentious. You're going to be involved in a debate, I think, which I'm assuming is going to be contentious, which is the wages, not weapons. A little bit about that motion, if we can, and why it's so vital, because obviously some members will look and go, there's jobs in that industry, but there's trade unionists in that industry, but why is it so vital that we're a voice in that debate, and obviously you are a voice in that debate?
Well, I think there's two reasons for that in the industries we operate in. Well, first of all, there are a lot of industries out there that we think should be back in public ownership, yeah? And one of the things we always talk about is we ain't got the money to do it. And those industries that still remain in public ownership, we haven't got the money to invest in them. And yet here we have a government that seems to be putting front and centre of its agenda, and its only idea of trying to grow the economy is to invest in the arms industry. It's just to invest in war. Let's just call it what it is. You go to the arms industry, and they use the misnomer, the defence industry. I mean, in a strange way, Trump let the cat out the bag earlier this week because he's going to rename his Department of Defence the Department for War. There it is. We know what this is all about, and there's been less and less attempts to hide that. So, it's important for us, first and foremost, as representatives of ordinary workers. I hate the phrase ordinary, but I think everyone accepts a sort of common language there. We represent ordinary workers. And the idea that what we should be front and centre is to build, if you like, a machine that is expressly designed to go and kill other workers in other parts of the world just seems wrong. What that motion is from the UCU union is that actually it should be wages of our members, workers in this country that come first. So wages, not weapons. Wages, not war, actually, is what we're talking about. And I go back to the stuff I said earlier today. You were right. There's hardly any contentious debate. That would be contentious because the workers in the defence industry, the trade unions who represent workers in the defence industry, we believe are not going to support it. But here's the point. We've been arguing for nearly 20 odd years in the trade union movement that we need a just transition from a fossil fuel economy to, if you like, more environmentally friendly economy as we deal with the effects of climate change. And everybody agrees that we have to take the workers on that journey with us, reskill, retrain, find jobs in the new industry. If you're ploughing loads of millions of pounds into, if you like, the public sector to create more jobs, and to create a better manufacturing base, most people who work in the defence industry can follow the same path. The logic follows the same logic, that we have a transition from a weapons economy to a public economy that benefits the people of this country here and now today.
Thank you, Tony. Obviously, we're going to be back here every day, end of the day, the rest of this week. Is there anything you want to add, anything else you think the members should be aware of from day one?
Not only that, as you say, I come and do this roundup 5 or 10 minutes at the end. Our delegation was meeting at 11 o'clock this morning for a few hours. Then we've been in the hall all Sunday afternoon trying to look out. Yeah, the weather's still nice in Brighton, but we haven't been out there. We haven't been out there on the beach with the ice creams. Might be time for that now. We've been in the hall, and fair play to the delegation. Stuck at it. I mean, the rest of the week might be a bit different because these are all senior representatives, so they will have meetings to do as well as doing down here. So it's a busy week, and we do it for the best of reasons. We do it to engage with the representatives of other workers in the British trade union movement to advance the cause of workers across the piece. Final question, can you promise the members you're not going to wear a Liverpool top tomorrow? No, I can't promise that. I don't think that offends anybody. Really? It probably does, but he's got away with it. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for your time and good roundup of day one there, everyone. See you tomorrow.